The following is a presentation of the Black Hollywood Live Network, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. Hollywood Redefined. From Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is Black Hollywood Live, the Black Tea Party, featuring weekly discussions on political news and current affairs. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood Redefined.
You're listening to Black Hollywood Live.
And now, the host of Black Hollywood Live, the Black Tea Party.
Hello. We are back once again, Black Tea Party, and I am one of your hosts tonight. I'm definitely not holding it down alone. I have two lovely ladies with me. I'm Tara Johnson, your host tonight of Black Tea Party, and I would love my co-hosts to introduce themselves.
Hey guys. My name is Courtney Stewart, and I'm joining Black Tea Party for like the second time.
Oh.
So this is exciting and new, and I can't wait to chime in on what you got to talk about.
Well, it's my second time as well. I'm Eboni K. Williams. Eboni_TV is my Twitter handle.
Hey.
And I'm really excited to be here. Some good topics today.
Yeah, some good topics, and you guys are veterans compared to me. This is my first time on Black
Woo!
Tea
Yeah.
Party, but there you go.
Holding it down.
I couldn't ask for a better co-host to like break me in, you know.
Looking
This is the way to
fabulous
go.
doing it, honey.
Well, thank you very
Yes, you look
much.
beautiful
Thank you
today.
very much. So I guess we're going to start off with the topic I think that we've heard about, and we just got the latest update right before we got here, the Freddie Gray case. And I think the latest that came out when I checked about 6:37 Eastern time was the Anthony Batts, the Baltimore police commissioner, said, of course, that they failed to give him timely medical attention. And they knew he wasn't buckled in, but it's still a case of when the injuries occurred, how extensive were the injuries? I mean, there's even a question of, was there even a probable cause to even stop him when he connected eyes with the police officers and took off running? So, I mean, I think we're all familiar with the case. I just want to ask your ladies, what's your opinion of the case and what we know thus far?
I will admit that I am struggling. I'm struggling because how do I say this? The man's spine is severed. What in God's name was happening that... Because we talk about this often, and obviously there's been cases constantly coming up. And I want to respect what we have in our police force. And I want to, because I know it's not an easy job, and I know it's not an easy job. It's not a job that most people take lightly. Mm-hmm. It's not, and I don't want to disrespect that. I want to honor that, and I want to receive that, because we do live in a country that is often dangerous and often horrible things happening.
Right.
But everything I'm hearing about what has happened with this man, it makes no sense. Like, it makes... I can't, like, it's almost emotional because I'm so disturbed by the fact that he's in a backseat without a seatbelt. He had a cell phone, but the cell phone was in his hand. Like, there's no...
But nothing about that connects to why this man died.
Right,
why
exactly.
he's dead. Like,
Right.
He's gone. And it doesn't make... There's nothing. There's no excuse. There's no explanation. There's very little information coming out that's accurate. One person is saying something about he's the one that said he had a cell phone something, and then he picked it up, but then he initially, in the tape or whatever, it showed that it was already in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
So
Nothing can make sense of this man's
Right,
nonsensical death.
Nonsensical
was
death.
losing his life.
But it's baffling because we're in a space where everything that's happening, you would think that people are on high alert. Like, as a police officer, you're heightened trying to do right because of everything else that is going on. And I can't understand what the heck was happening that it went so left, and they don't have an explanation.
Well, I think a couple
for it.
problems have occurred here. I think, and I'll start by saying I've worked side by side with law enforcement in various areas. We talked about North Carolina before the show.
Yeah.
That's primarily where I practiced. I have the utmost respect for law enforcement that do a very dangerous and necessary job.
Right.
However, the latitude in which we allow law enforcement to practice and exercise their discipline is now, as we're seeing by so many cases, this just being the latest, it's not in the advantage of many people of color. And I think it's time for us to wheel in the wide latitude that we allow law enforcement to exist. And I think that's okay. I think there's something between prohibiting law enforcement in a way that prohibits them from doing their job efficiently, which is the argument around some of this relitigation or re-legislation around their laws. But there's something in between that and a way that we as communities of color can still feel safe, even in the space of law enforcement.
Yeah.
Because I think we're at a place, I would say, that many people of color no longer feel safe when engaging with law enforcement.
They haven't for quite some time.
For some time.
Absolutely.
And that's a problem because the whole system only works, ladies, if everybody feels the purpose is mutually agreed to. That your job is to protect and serve, and our job is to make your job easier.
Right.
But when we feel like, as people of color, that your job is to attack or eliminate us in our own society, we've got a serious problem on our hands.
Well, I will even take it a couple of steps further and say, in Baltimore, this is a really serious issue because since 2010, Baltimore, the police department has had to pay over $2 million in damages for this type of police brutality. So this is nothing new in Baltimore. And a lot of people are attempting to blame it on the mayor that was in position two seats ago because he came in with the no zero tolerance policy. So with that, police, especially in this neighborhood where this occurred, where it has one of the highest incarceration rates in the state of Baltimore. So, I mean, the state of Maryland. So you have people who are coming in and they are used to come in with no tolerance. So for any petty thefts, for anything whatsoever, they're using everything they've been trained to use to take someone who's like stolen a pack of gum. So it's hard once you've like given that amount of latitude to pull it back. But it's been, you know, the type of thing where one woman was injured because someone threw her down on the concrete and she got $30,000 in damages. This man has lost his life. So we're on a completely different level. So it's a thing of completely retooling the Baltimore Police Department. And speaking of, and I think you're 100% right talking about we as people of color don't feel safe, but I'm afraid that because of everything else that has happened, if we continue to just say that, it gets, the message and the severity gets lost. Right? Because that we're hearing that so much now, not that it's not important. I would like them to focus on taking the color away and focusing on the civil liberties that are being taken away of people, period.
Well, I agree with that.
Yeah, because I think if we focus on that, maybe more justice will happen. Because I think people very easily just swipe away the race card.
I agree.
Statistically speaking, maybe you might actually know this. So we've spoken before on other shows about like what information is actually available statistically from city to city in terms of police brutality, police fatality cases, things like that. And it seems like there isn't a substantial amount of cohesive, intense information across the country from police departments in terms of deaths at the hand of police, what was happening, because how is that even possible? Because it didn't really occur to me until we were like talking about this, and obviously there's been multiple cases. We have a Justice Department. They're obviously like being called in to, you know, for special prosecutors and doing whatnot and whatnot. Why is it at this point, or hell, long before now, how do we not have a substantial amount of statistical information about why isn't it being reported to our federal level of what's really happening from city to city to city in terms of numerically speaking, like what's happening in homicide or at the hands of police and brutalities and cases that are, you know, of police inappropriate behavior. Like I just can't. I'm not familiar enough, maybe, and I don't know enough about how the Justice Department and what the rules are and what they're supposed to be in charge of and what happens. But how is there not an overseer without using a horrible word?
Pun intended, right?
Of that.
I mean, I think one of the primary concerns, Courtney, is that they are so afraid of litigation, right? Deathly afraid, pun intended, of litigation. And so what they don't want is to offer up data that would serve to do nothing but bolster an argument that you guys systematically are having a problem with the communities that you serve.
But we live in such a litigious culture to begin with. So the idea that, I mean, obviously it's a racial element into it, and that the people that matter.
They don't want to
aren't-
offer up evidence against themselves. So what I'm
Yeah.
saying is it's ridiculous. And I saw this firsthand. I was trying to do a story actually for whatever, and I was like, let me go find the numbers so that I could say this is the number of homicides.
Right.
And I couldn't find it
I
either.
couldn't, exactly. I'm like,
course.
why is that
Either.
information not
But
available?
it's not a mystery why it's not available,
Yeah.
Courtney.
I mean, it makes
Because-
on a certain level
it
it makes
makes
sense,
sense.
but because we obviously because I don't want to believe in the darkness.
no, it
of our
breaks your heart,
government.
but it makes sense.
But think about this case in particular. There
Yeah.
has been a camera, because going back to the zero policy,
Yeah.
a camera in this same location where this occurred has always been operable for years, and it's been catching petty thefts and drug deals. But on this particular instance, on this particular day, for whatever reason, no one can tell you why, that camera is not working.
Yeah.
So it goes back to the fact of, I think we as a society, as much as we want to believe that someone's protecting and serving us, it's very hard for us to pull it back and say, really, maybe they're not. You know, as little
looking
kids,
the other way.
as little kids, we're taught the police officer is there to help you, and if you see him on the corner, you run to him and tell him what happens. I think it makes everyone very nervous to say the people who are riding around these cars who are supposed to protect and serve us, they are not.
So here's what's interesting. I was having a conversation with a law enforcement professor at John Jay College of Law who said that notion of protect and serve, it's actually fake. That's not really what they take an oath to do. And it's like shocking to our consciousness, right? Like that's what we've been told. That's
Yeah.
what the media tells us. That's not what they take an oath to do, actually. They take an oath, as they would say, to uphold the law.
Right.
Their job is not to protect you, me, or you, nor serve you, me, or you. Their job is to uphold the law. And that's what they will make the predominant objective before everything else. So we got to keep that in mind. We're not the priority. None of us are. Like you say, beyond race.
They're beyond race.
Citizens are not the, quote, priority. The law is the priority. So we got to be clear about that. Then we go into, like you're saying, well, why is there not data around this? Well, that's not in their interest
not
to
in their
provide
interest.
data around what they're doing wrong.
But at the same time, if you are here to uphold the
Law.
so
Right.
to speak, and it is a colorblind law, then at some point, like, why? I mean, obviously, it's like I'm answering my own
know,
question.
right.
Like, I know the why,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's like, at what point do we receive that the law is still supposed to be about a freedom of safety and existence in this country to function and do the things that whatever revolve and evolve into the American dream, and that we're impeding upon that because technically that still is a part of the law. Our civil rights are a part of the
absolutely.
law and all of that. So I don't, it just sort of still blows my mind. And like I said before, the fact that we are in a space right now, it's one thing when like we don't really know what's going on and it's real quiet, but like the idea that there have been this many cases coming up constantly of videotape and this happening and horrible things happening and one dude shot last week, the next dude is shot the next
Right.
week. How, as a person and a police officer upholding the law, do you like not receive that in some way and it changes your behavior or makes you look at it different? And it's just it's a scary space to be in.
So what you're
to
talking
me.
about, Courtney, is a shift in police culture.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a difficult.
Which is
yeah.
true. It's difficult.
But it's necessary.
It's necessary, and
It's very necessary.
And I understand because for me, I understand it as a very similar way that we treat our military and like we
Yes.
train
True.
our Marines. Like
Yes.
we train them to kill, and we don't untrain them
Right.
to
We
do
don't.
these things.
Right.
So I feel like police-wise, we sort of train them in this idea that these certain things mean certain things, and you need to attack those things as opposed to try to
mitigate.
Right.
and make things
Yes.
better.
That's true.
So I understand that, and I respect that, but I just it's baffling at this point, like how leadership has not taken on some kind of.
But making it synonymous to the military,
Yeah.
where military has this kind of internal code among themselves, I think police officers have the same
They do,
thing. I
for
mean,
sure.
how many different professions can you have where something like this happens, where you are on leave with pay?
Yeah.
Other positions that just doesn't happen. So there's this internal code. So I think you're right. There needs to be a change in the police culture, but it has to be changed. I'm from the South, from the rooter to the tutor. Like you got to take it all the way to the root and take it out and
Right.
change all over again. But that type of change and shift is something
deep.
is deep.
It's very deep.
It's so deep and and who knows how long it will take to happen. We all know we all agree that it's necessary, and it's something that we're definitely going to have to watch as we watch this case unfold.
For
But it's a
sure.
tragedy, and our prayers go out to his family and that community as they attempt to find answers and definitely heal the wounds that are going on right now. We want to move on and talk about a case, a small town in Missouri where Tyus Bird has been elected as their new mayor. It's a small town of 700 residents. There was an election, and she actually beat a mayor who's been in office for 3.5 decades. And even before she took office, there's 6 police officers in this little town, and before she even decided to take office, 4 of them resigned. All of them are white. And also the alderman and an assistant who were supposed to actually swear her into the office actually resigned too before she was even able to take office. And she's dumbfounded as to what happened. And while these people have left, I mean, are we now again speaking, do you think this is another race card? I mean, do you think this is about her gender? Do you think it's about her race? I mean, what's our feelings on what's happening in this small town of Missouri? And everyone's like, we have 700 residents. Why do people even know our names now? What is going on?
I would like to believe that maybe they were ready to retire.
Courtney, no ma'am. Again, it really is not different than what we just talked about.
No, I don't think so. I think, yeah, 100%
it's
agree
a
with you.
continuation of the culture
Yeah.
issue,
Yeah.
right? There's a certain way we do things, and it's not just a white thing. It's so I was talking to a couple professors, one white, one black. There's white, black, and blue. Okay?
Makes sense.
When you're talking about the blue culture, that's its own unique thing. And anything that is disruptive to blue culture, whether it be because she's young, female, black, you name it, doesn't matter if it's a combination. You're disruptive of blue traditional culture, and you're a problem, and you must go.
Yeah, and I do believe that. I think it has less to do with her color and more to do with her voice. Because she ran for this office because she was a missionary for the Church of God in Christ and came back home, and people were telling her of both colors, right?
It's not just
saying,
black.
the town has gone down. And the one thing that everyone could talk about and complain about was the way they were being treated and harassed by the police.
Yep.
And they also talked about how funds had been appropriated and there were new police cars in a small town of 700 people.
Right.
And she had a 17-year-old cousin that had just been tasered by a police officer. And so one police officer actually said, well, you know what? It was a difference of opinion or trust issues. That was what he said, is trust issues. And she had a mother, this woman's mother, this woman's father was an alderman, and he would speak his mind, speak about the issues, and they feel as if she's going to come in and do the same thing. It's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're going to disrupt what we've had going on for 30 plus years. You're going to make our good times stop rolling.
Right.
Rolling, no
And
more
that's
new
a
cars.
problem.
And that's a problem. So if you're going to come in and investigate, let me just retire
Right.
before you shame my name.
Well, thank you, Jesus, that you retired. I appreciate that. Thank you. Now we can move forward.
That's what I
Because in the
say.
end, it's like
That's exactly-
Oprah's
yeah.
comment forever ago when they were talking about racism. Like, it's not going to go away until they die. Like,
That's
they just
it.
have to go
Oh, God.
away
I
because they're
do.
not going to change.
I agree. I'm like, good riddance to bad rubbish. That's, it's a
Amen.
poor economy. Four police officers have retired and quit. In this town, in this economy, there'll be 304 who want to apply for this
a
job.
job.
Yeah, of course.
They
And
need
who
jobs
really want to
and
do
want to
it.
do it.
And who want to do
Exactly.
it.
Thank
So,
you.
we wish you all the best.
Good riddance.
In Missouri. Get you a great staff who has your back, and you will be absolutely fine.
Do it, lady.
And who are we talking about now who has a new position and a great staff? Loretta Lynch was finally confirmed as Attorney General.
Thank you, Jesus. Oh, my God. It took forever.
I call this our very own episode of House of Cards.
Amen.
It's as if everyone was sitting there with chess pieces, and poor Loretta Lynch was sitting there going, okay, well, who's going to cut whatever deal so we can finally confirm this woman? Because it was never a lack of skills or qualifications.
Of course. She was always going to
to
be
Going to be,
confirmed.
right.
It's like, what are you going to give
just
me
a matter
to make
of
that
time.
happen?
Yeah.
And so it seems like the Republicans got what they wanted. The Democrats got what they wanted.
Well, look at their alternative. That was the brilliance of Eric Holder, right?
Right.
Is that, you know what? Do what you want to do. Guess who's acting AG until you decide to do what you want to do? Me. Who you freaking hate.
Right.
So there you go. Good job. It really made it very easy for them.
Yeah, and I think people are really nervous about her taking office because she's someone who is experienced and who is very tough. She came very hard down in the Citibank case, so she knows big banking. She knows Wall Street. I read an article about how Wall Street is probably shaking in their boots because she has that experience in the financial sector.
I truly wish she had longer in office. This is a flaw that I will assign to President Obama. I feel like she should have been nominated at the beginning of the 2012 term, because respectfully to A.G. Holder, there just came a time in his administration that he was no longer going to be effective. And so that would have been a really ripe opportunity for him to put some new blood into the system that could have affected a little greater change. But all that to say, very, very happy to see Loretta Lynch.
I'm very happy to see, and it was an interesting article about her father. They were actually following her father around while he was waiting for the confirmation, and he was just talking about her and how intelligent she was, and coming from North Carolina, and finding it very interesting that her 2 senators from North Carolina did not vote for her.
Of course they didn't.
They did not vote for her. I mean, she had the backing of the senators from New York.
And there were some, to be fair, there were some Republicans, especially some Republican women,
Absolutely.
who did support her because her merit is unquestionable.
Absolutely.
You cannot question it. The opposition she faced was purely partisan.
It's fascinating, the theater that occurs in our political sector and how we run our country.
It is. It's like a
based on
chess game.
theatrics.
It's like you move this piece here, we move this piece there, and this woman is just waiting to get a position that she's more highly qualified. And it's taking away time where she could have done some
being effective. And we're okay with that because we've accepted theater as a part of our politics for the entire span of the country's life.
It's good art. I mean, it's
art.
We're gearing up for a whole season of it.
We are.
It's going to be amazing. By the way,
this election,
it's going to be
fantastic. Amazing. So talking about amazing, there was an article that came out. Michael Eric Dyson, talking about his, I guess we can describe it now as his
former mentor,
and probably ex-friend. And Michael talked about Cornel West and talked about his reign being no longer. And you can definitely pull the article, the 23-page article, if you. It was very long. And ladies, what are our reactions to this article?
I'm not entirely sure where I fall on this yet. I respect what he did because I know it's not an easy thing per se to come out strongly against someone who has been such a part of your political thought, your cultural thought, your sort of everything that sort of formulated your career and adult opinion about the way we view this country and this world. But I've definitely taken issue myself with some of the methods of Cornel West in the last few years. So I understand where it comes from and I respect where it comes from. I think it was very bold. I always get that moment where I'm kind of like, can we talk about this at the kitchen table? Like, please don't put this on blast out there like that. So that's where I'm kind of still, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it.
You're a little torn about it.
I'm a little torn about it because he went for him.
He really 23
went
pages long.
Him.
He went for him.
And I don't, like I said, I respect what he did, why he did it, sort of. I always wonder if there are ulterior motives and what is really going on there. And I'm not entirely sure about that right now. So that's why I think I need to sit with it a while and see what the repercussions sort of are of that. But on the same note, I highly respect Cornel West. I highly respect what he has done. I have read most of his work. So in sort of the terms of Michael Dyson, it's hard to set aside that amount of sort of information and growth and how he evolved my own personal thinking in terms of race in this country and what's going on, and to sort of put it out there like that is like,
yeah, it is.
It's sort of like telling your dad he ain't shit, and it was hurtful, which may need to be done, but I don't know. Where you at, Eboni?
Because I can tell Ebony's wrestling with this.
She's like,
Well, ladies, I know a little bit about these gentlemen that's not as public. And I'll say this. Let me choose my words wisely. I think you were onto something, Courtney, when you talked about motivation.
Yes.
And when you talked about motivation. And I'm going to probably more or less leave it there, other than saying that I, too, was very astute to the teachings of Dr. West, and also took issue with some of the more modern pieces that he's come out with, the poverty tour with Tavis and things of this nature, and making it very anti-Obama. And it's not an issue of being pro-Obama. It's just there's a way you do that. I say
there's a method that you didn't use.
But all of that aside, I have a lot of question and concern with what Dr. Dyson's doing in that piece.
Yeah. I will say, to me, this feels like I'm a huge Cicely Tyson fan. So when she was honored on Black Girls Rock, and she stood there and said that we have to realize that we are not on the backs of our elders, we're on the shoulders of them, and we should respect our elders. This to me feels like Viola Davis standing in Cicely Tyson's face and saying, we don't need you anymore.
Exactly.
That's how this feels to me.
I'll take it a step further. I'll say it feels like an opportunist to me.
And that's how it
He feels like he straight up was like,
right.
I feel like he saw an opening.
Yeah.
And he took full advantage of being able to proliferate that. And it was sad to me because, again, I'm not saying I know these two gentlemen super closely personally, but I know a little bit about them, and I know them a little bit, and I feel it was uncalled for.
crushing my dreams, girl.
I'm sorry.
Because I would
I'm
like
sorry.
to believe that in his mind it was
I don't believe that.
I'm very frustrated and upset about this, and I have to express it. It
Yeah.
wasn't
I wish it were
a
that.
calculated attack.
I wish it were that.
And I want to believe.
I mean, I wish I felt it. I can't say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not inside the mind of Dr. Dyson. But I wish I could full-heartedly believe, because then I could understand.
Yeah.
You know, we all have, whether it's Bell Hooks or whoever that you kind of grew up idolizing.
Even
and
your
feeling,
mama,
you know, your
sometimes
mom,
you just
whoever.
want to come out and
you're
be like, you're not right.
Man, you are just a woman or whoever.
Right,
you know,
right.
For sure I understand that. This is not loyalty till the end, no matter what. But this, something smells rotten in Denmark.
I mean, and if they were as close as they say they were, and I understand that people get to a certain point where they have mentors, and you're like, we're not rocking the same way, we're not vibing the same way. Go to that person and talk to them in person.
Put it out.
This just seems so public, and I think right now in our society where we're so desperate for leaders in the Black community, to have these two people going back and forth on a public level just puts our business even more in the streets.
And
it's
stabbing.
not, and it's
they're not
helpful.
pulling shots at all.
No.
And y'all have to remember, too, like when you talk about where the microphone rests in terms of the voice of the progressive Black community, it's literally up in the air.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
being tossed around.
It
Is it Sharpton? Is it Jesse? Is it Dyson? Is it Cornel West? Is it Tavis? Is it, whoever? And so there is such a mad rush to grab and be holden into this microphone.
He's not trying to hold a mic.
I'm just saying.
Is he not
Let's
trying?
just look at the motivation. I'm just saying.
Hold the mic.
That's what I have to
And
say.
that's what I think we have to say on that. And with that, I think we're going to wrap up this edition of Black Tea Party. We so thank you for joining us today. Please follow us on iTunes and actually check us out on YouTube. Let us know how you feel about these topics. I know I'll be checking all week, so if you want to talk to me, you can find me on Twitter at TJ Wagging Her Tail. And what about you two ladies? Where can they find you?
Wagger girl.
Right. At Eboni, EBONI_TV.
And I'm at Stewart Starlet.
Thank you again. Until next week.
From producers Maria Menounos, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire BHL crew, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us at info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I'm your BHL announcer, Scipio. Instagram me at Planet Scipio. Thank you for tuning in.
Hollywood redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.